Hello friends, welcome back. A little bit of a new style of video today. We are at the end of January, and I just want to walk you guys through the past month of freelance video production work, what that looked like for me. I'm going to show you guys behind the scenes on several shoots that I played different roles on, anything from a one-man band to a full-fledged live recording where I was directing 5 other cam ops and we had about 8 cameras. I also want to showcase some new gear that I've been testing out this month and specifically talk about some pros and cons just in a more organic way. So they're not going to be full-fledged reviews, but they are pieces of gear that I've been trying out. So I hope you would find some value today, either in seeing some of the projects that I'm doing, how I'm going about them as a freelancer, as well as some of the gear that I'm using to get the job done. The first project was a nonprofit storytelling piece that I was directing. It was primarily interviews, but we did shoot some run and gun B-roll to supplement what the final deliverable will look like. I've worked with this client before, and so it wasn't a completely new scenario that I was walking into. I had done the project last year, and so I had generally expectations of what they wanted it to look like, what the final product was going to feel like, so I felt pretty confident stepping into it. There was not a lot of pre-production or planning just due to the nature of this project. It was mainly, I was gonna show up with my gear, help the interviews look as good as possible, but then the client was kind of in control of the scheduling throughout the day, as well as the locations that we were shooting B-roll. And so I occasionally will have jobs like this where I can't really step in and take the project fully on due to the budget. So I'm working with the client to kind of find a win-win scenario where they're gonna get the most bang for their buck, but I'm going to step in and do my best to give them a really great video. We did 3 interviews in total, and there was 2 to 3 people in each one. We were running just 2 cameras, the Fuji X-T3 on the wide, and then the Fuji X-H2S on the tight. And I'm gonna show you guys just some BTS of the shoot along with the lighting setup, kind of give you guys a feel for what the setup was like, and then some examples of the final images that are still in progress, but just to show you guys what we were capturing. Second project was another one for a nonprofit, and it was primarily going to consist of a very simple interview and then kind of a house tour where we captured some B-roll. This was only going to live on socials, so I think the final deliverables are about 4 to 6 kind of short social media segments. So we're mainly going for sound bites and just some run and gun B-roll, and this was actually a new client that I was working with, and so the expectations they kind of laid out for me were very clear. They were like, we want something, you know, that looks really natural. We don't have the budget for a big crew, so if you could come and just make this video look as good as possible, you know, this is the budget we have to work with. And so I came into this with pretty clear expectations that most of this was going to be run and gun, but I was going to do my best to make it look and sound as good as possible. I think a funny thing to mention about this job, when we pulled up, the entire street was complete ice because there was still snow on the ground here near Kansas City, and both our cars actually got stuck in the driveway. And so the house was quite far away, and we actually had to haul the gear through the snow all the way up to the house. I was not anticipating this. I did not wear boots, and I think I took a little bit of a video here just to show you guys a little bit of the conditions. But again, these are the things that you run into. We made it work. I think 2 or 3 trips to the car, and definitely running a light gear setup on this one really helped because we were quite far away from the house. And when we're thinking about this lighting setup, we had a very tight schedule, and the client was just wanting something raw, quick, and natural. They probably would have been okay with me not adding any light at all, but I knew that to get this interview to look halfway decent, we were gonna need to add some light to this living room. So I just opted to blast the Nanlite FS300 kind of into the ceiling off to the right, giving us a nice key. And I think this also helped the interview feel less intimidating for the people on camera. I could tell that they had not done this a ton before, and even the fact that we were filming them was a little bit uncomfortable. And so I think sometimes light and minimal setups like this also help your subject feel comfortable, and it just depends on the job and the expectations from the client. And it was on this project that I actually got to start testing out a new camera monitor. It is the FeelWorld F5 Pro X, and there are 2 main pros why I was even interested in this monitor, and I'm going to talk about those real quick, just kind of some quick pros and cons. The big 2 are it is 3 times brighter than my Andy Cine A6 Plus V2, so when I'm filming outside, huge plus. And then it does accept a 6K clean feed from the X-H2S, so you can send OpenGate without the HDMI info display, and that is really awesome because I would love to shoot 6K more often, but I find when I'm monitoring it on a monitor that can't accept that, I just don't love using the info display because it drops the quality. So those 2 things worked on this monitor, really loved it. Here's a little side-by-side just to give you guys an example of what I was talking about with the brightness. So here's my default Andy Cine screen, max brightness, super hard to see. This is full noon sun just beating directly down on the screen. It is pretty dim, and that is pretty similar to the XH2S screen. And so we come over here to the feel world. This one is supposed to be 3 times brighter, and to my eye, guys, this looks super visible in this full noon sun. So hopefully this is helpful just to see the side by side. I'm super happy, and image quality looks really similar. You can tell the build is almost identical because I think these are actually owned by the same company. They're just different brands. And so yeah, overall, hope that helps just give you guys a feel for how these monitors might differ in outdoor conditions. When it comes to the image and the colors, I feel like they feel good to me. It feels pretty true. I did do some shifting to the RGB values just to try to dial it in by eye to what the XH2S monitor, but overall, it does not have like a weird gamma shift like maybe the Ninja 5 or some other low budget monitors that I've seen. And I also really like the tactile buttons on top that you can assign to different things in the menu. So I did things like false color and zebras. I can just really quickly press those buttons and toggle them on and off. As I got to use this monitor, there were a few weird cons, and these are all kind of like software things. So my hope would be that FeelWorld could fix these. And I think this is where just budget monitors all seem to have some trade-offs in this price category. So the first one was just no 9:16 vertical ratio markers. This is on the Andy Cine monitor that I have. And although the OS is very similar, this one does not have the ability to do that. So you would have to use kind of the 3x3 grid as a workaround, but I just don't love that as much because it doesn't feel as clean to me. I think the other thing, it does not have an auto flip or auto mirror feature. So if you are filming yourself and you turn the monitor upside down or around with the swivel mount, you actually have to go into the menus and kind of tell it to reverse the orientation. Again, this isn't necessarily a con for everybody, but it was very different for me coming from the Andy Cine monitor that I have. Other thing I disliked was you can't set the zebras to like a white and black color. The default is red, and I did not see a way to change that. So not the biggest thing, but again, probably not my favorite. And when you're loading LUTs onto this monitor, you can, and they load very easily, but you actually have to use a USB drive and then a USB-C adapter that they include. And I just found that process to be a little bit different than most of the other monitors I've ever used. You can just load them with an SD card. So I always have an SD card with my LUTs if I'm looking to load them quickly onto a new monitor. So I thought that was just a little bit odd. One note that I'm not really sure is a pro or a con, but the false color reads after a LUT is applied, and this is different than my other monitor, but I actually think I like it. I don't always love viewing false color of the log image because everything feels so flat. So if you guys are using false color, it will default to kind of a post LUT display, and there is no way to tweak it for pre versus post LUT. So just wanted to share that in case that is an important feature to you. But overall, I would say, yeah, all budget monitors are gonna have some trade-offs in this price category. I would say for me, it kind of has all the basic features that I would want, and the image looks good to my eye. It's not weirdly shifted or the contrast is way off. So that is kind of what's important to me when I'm looking at a monitor. This is gonna be my new A-cam monitor moving forward because I was really happy with its performance throughout the month. And I'm gonna move the Andy Cine to be my B-cam monitor for interviews. So here's just a really quick look at the menu system. Just wanted to show you guys some of the different things. So false color, you get 2 different options here, just kind of toggling it on and off, and then moving on. These are kind of the different markers you get. So here's the grids that I talked about. 3x3 can be used for vertical, and I also did like that they included all the other, larger subdivisions as well. I feel like I would find that helpful. Ratio markers, this is what I'm talking about. There is no 9:16, but a lot of the other standard ratios are there, which I enjoy. You can also change the color need be. Moving on to image, this is what's on that page. LUT is going to be under user options, so that's where I loaded my LUTs, and then here is the final settings on the system page. Next project I wanted to talk about was this worship night live recording that was happening here in Kansas City. And so I was tasked with directing this project. There was going to be about an hour of total runtime of music that we were capturing, and I was tasked with hiring the crew that was going to help pull this off. So it was me plus 5 of my friends. We had John, Dwayne, Caleb, Mitchell, and my friend David, who shot all the BTS that you guys are going to see in this one. In total, we had 8 Fuji cameras. We had 3 on tripods. They were kind of safety shots. One of those was a master wide, one was specifically on the drums, and then one was on the keys player. And then from there, we had 5 other ops. So we had 1 specific handheld cam on drums, 1 that was doing both the electric guitars, And then 2 of us were on whoever was singing. We kind of had a wide shot as well as a tight shot. And then we had 1 person kind of roaming the crowd, doing some shots of people in the room, as well as shooting back towards the stage, just getting a little bit of a different perspective. The main thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to this project was just how different live productions are from, say, a music video. You have to do a lot of prep beforehand, figuring out the gear, all the different operators, what's their job gonna be, what lens, what camera are they gonna be using, because once the night starts and the music is rolling, there are no do-overs. You have to really react on the fly to any problems you might run into, and at the end of the day, you just have to get the thing captured, do the best job you can with the time that you were given to prep the day of, and any constraints that you might have run into, like the lighting or even people on the stage moving throughout the night. And when it came to pulling off this production this year, I was really excited because we actually had the opportunity to use wireless headsets for the first time. It was kind of my experience getting to use wireless comms, but we got to use these ones from Saramonic. These were the We Talk headsets. Specifically, we had the WTD 6 model, which basically means there are 6 headsets kind of in the bunch. But yeah, it was super fun getting to try out wireless headsets for the first time. In this pack, there are 5 truly wireless headsets, and then 1 master hub that is wireless, but you have a wired headset that plugs into it. And it's kind of a belt pack that you clip onto you. We use these for a few different things throughout the night. One was communication prior. So when we were trying to set white balance and even just make sure our cameras were rolling before the night started, we were able to do that over the wireless headsets, all talk to one another. And the dual ear design was incredibly nice, and I would say necessary for a live music environment like this. There are other production headsets, even ones that Saramonic sells, that just have a 1 ear design, but I think due to the nature of live music being quite loud, and you can only talk so loud and boost the volume so loud inside these headsets, I was really loving the dual ear design and really felt super essential to actually being able to hear and communicate. And so you simply power these on and they're gonna automatically pair to the hub. And then from there, you just lift the mic to mute and drop it down if you are wanting to talk. I really quickly just wanted to run through some pros and cons of these headsets in case you are curious on how they might work for you. So overall pros, I would say they are super simple and easy to use. It was my first experience, but I had no issues getting these to pair to the hub. As it happens automatically, you just simply pop the batteries in and they start working. I would say they are loud enough for a live music environment with the dual ear design. I think if you had the 1 ear design, I would kind of doubt maybe if they would be loud enough for you to hear clearly. So just a note, we did not have any issues with dropouts. And at one point, my buddy John actually went out of the church all the way to the middle of the parking lot, which this was quite a big campus and room, and through several closed doors, and I don't know how many feet that would have been away, he was still talking to us. So I thought that was really cool. We didn't do any type of specific range test, but they did not drop out, in a large room like that, but even outside the building. Overall, they just allowed us to communicate in a large space more effectively. And the case that they come in and the charger was super pro and was way above kind of my expectations for these headsets. When it comes to cons, I really only have one, and it is that the hub is plastic. It does feel a little bit cheap, even in comparison to the other headsets. And I did imagine, because this is on a belt pack, if this was dropped, I'm not sure if I can vouch for the durability, but it seemed to secure pretty easily to a belt, but that was just one note. It did seem like plastic that it could maybe break. And so just some final thoughts to end. I think the WTD 5 might be better for smaller teams because you don't actually need the hub. I think because we had the 6 headset model, that's where you have to have the hub and the wired headset. But if you have the 5 headset model, that is not needed at all. I think a workaround could be just leaving the hub somewhere set up, centrally located if you're not needing all 6. And if the hub is plugged into a battery and just remotely close, then you can use all the other headsets wirelessly. And overall, this was my first experience with headsets like this, so I can't compare them to other things that are out there on the market, but they were honestly a lot of fun. It got me really excited to know how well these worked for my team, and I'm definitely going to be using these on productions moving forward, even outside of these live music capture environments. I think just on video productions where we are gonna be more spread out, I can totally see me and my team utilizing these. So here's the case that they come in. Up here at the top, we have the battery charger where you can charge up to 10. I just had 6 batteries, but you can fit up to 10 in there. And then here is the hub. It is the belt pack. So the battery's in it, and you guys will see me plug this in later on, but that lives up there. And then here are 3 of the wireless headsets there on the right. And then here on the left are 2 of the wireless headsets, and then the wired headset that is going to plug into the hub. So they fit in here quite nicely, plenty of room, but I feel like the case keeps everything nice and protected. Right here is showing the wired headset, how it plugs into the hub. And so this would just live on your belt. You just simply power it on. And then from there, any headsets that you power on will automatically pair to the hub. So here's me doing it with one of the wireless headsets. I'm just going to power it on here, and it will instantly pair. It'll leave you a little beep in the ear letting you know that it is indeed paired. And then from there, if you lift the headset that is muted and then drop it down, you are live to talk. So hope that gives you guys a good idea of what these look like. The last project of the month was actually getting hired as a colorist to color grade a short film that was shot on the Arri Alexa. And I don't have a ton that I can really show you guys yet, as most of the work this month was actually problem solving some corrupted footage that the client ran into. It was nothing on my end, but I spent a good amount of time doing my due diligence, trying to make sure it wasn't something with my machine or my version of Resolve or Premiere. We did a lot of back and forth and eventually landed on the original footage does have some corrupt frames, and we ended up finding a solution that is gonna be best case scenario for moving forward. So hope to share with you guys more about that in the future, but I just wanted to put it in here because it was part of my work this month in January, even though I don't necessarily get paid for doing all that problem solving. Was excited to get to work on this project and hope to share with you guys here on the channel once it's done. And I think that is going to do it. That is my January in a nutshell. Quite a variety of different projects, going to be transitioning into editing a lot of those here in February. Please let me know any questions down below, as I love to be a resource to you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.